Good morning, traders. This is your daily market breakdown. What we can see is that on the GBP USD on the 4-hour time frame that the price had come up, it had entered into this supply zone, and we know this as when price originally was at this price point, it pushed itself down with a very clear break of market structure. And so what we can see at the moment is that we are currently in a bearish market, and we can see that the price went up into the supply zone. It then had quite a strong reaction. It has broken market structure into the downside, and we're likely going to continue seeing it push into the downside until we enter into here, which is our potential demand zone. So this is a bit of a tricky situation. What I'm likely going to be looking out for today is to see what is happening within this demand zone. More specifically, what happens when it enters into this area here. If we enter here and on a lower time frame, so if we see a break of structure or change of character into the upside, then we may see the price pushing itself back up slightly, maybe retesting the supply zone again before pushing itself all the way down. So if we drop down to the 15-minute frame, we can see that the price is currently reacting to the lows of this low here. And so again, you kind of want to see what might happen. What we could see happen is that the price will likely push itself back up to around this area before then coming down into the demand zone area. And then you want to wait to see whether or not there's a very nice breaker structure before potentially enter into a long position and targeting the highs that are resting above here. That would be my 15-minute, my lower time frame strategy for the day on GBP USD. Heading over to the Euro US dollar, we see a very similar situation which has happened, whereby we have entered into a supply zone. We are now seeing it push itself down. We are likely going to see the price continue pushing itself down until we hit one of these potential demand zones. We may see a retracement before then continuing into the downside. As I said, we are in a downtrend, and so we are really looking for shorting positions. You could even be looking at a position at this point in time, putting your stop loss just above that previous high and targeting for one of the prices down here, looking at a 1 to 1.2, 1.4, 1.5 risk to reward ratio. But I'm seeing that the price is likely going to continue pushing itself back into the downside. On the 15-minute time frame, you can see a very strong breaker structure into the downside. There's a full body breaker structure, and we are likely going to see maybe a slight pullback, maybe into this fair value gap, where you can then enter into that trade and target this lower low or target this demand zone over here. So again, those will be my plays for today. For the GU and the euro dollar, I'm just looking for shorting positions. Maybe trade the pullback if you're confident enough to do that, but I think it's best you just stick with the trend and follow it down. Heading over to the DXY. So what we can see is yesterday the price aggressively pushed itself up. It is grabbing liquidity at this price point here. If we drew a Fibonacci retracement level, we can see that it is looking to climb slightly higher, maybe up to the 0.5 fib, but ultimately we are short-term bearish at the moment on the DXY. And so what I'll be looking at today is that the price is likely going to come back down into this demand zone. And then what I would want to look for is a clear breaker structural change of character into the upside, and then I'll be looking for a long position. I am long-term bullish on the DXY, but short-term bearish at the moment, especially on the 4-hourly frame. When we climb a little bit deeper into the 15-minute time frame, we can see that the DXY is having a sharp reaction to this price point here. And again, this validates the idea that the price is likely wanting to come back down. We could even refine that demand zone even clearer, and seeing the price potentially come down into this area here before having a little bit of a pullback and maybe climb even deeper or continue into the upside. So I will be looking for a potential short at this point in time, as for example, you can enter into a trade such as this and target a 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio. So that would be my play with the DXY for today. I will be short-term bearish, but overall long-term bullish. And so heading over to XAU, we can see that the yesterday's analysis did play out, that we saw a climb up into the upside. It has now grabbed liquidity. This was a key supply zone. It is now on its way. It's pushing itself back down into this potential demand zone. What I would then be waiting for is, again, another breaker structural change of character confirmation to show me that it's going to be then pushing up even higher. So I am short-term bearish on XAU for the time being, but long-term bullish, and I would be waiting for that to play out. If we drop down to the 15-minute time frame, same thing. We can see that there has been a very clean breaker structure here. This would be a nice indication that the price does in fact want to continue itself down. We could see a potential retracement into one of these FVGs over here before then pushing itself into that demand zone and then pushing itself into a higher position. So like I said, today I'll be short-term bearish on XAU, but long-term bullish, and this will fall in line with how our DXY is playing today as well. Heading over to BTC, again, we can see yesterday's analysis was relatively quite accurate, where the price is in a ascending wedge. We are saying that it is pushing itself back up, and it is currently just bouncing between these price points. There is nothing specific. There's no big trend occurring at the moment with BTC. What I'd be very worried about is to see if this trend line gets broken. If it does get broken, then we're likely going to see BTC hit lower lows, which are going to be around the $65,000 level before any sign of a reversal into the upside. So I would be relatively quite bearish on BTC today. If we drop down to the 15-minute time frame, we can see the price has just entered into a potential demand zone, so there could be a pullback happening shortly that might bring it up into the days open before pushing itself even lower and then pushing itself back up. So that would be my play for today. I'll be starting to look for a long position, but it will be a very, very shallow long position before then looking for a deeper pullback. So that'll be a short position, and then I will consider going into a much longer position later on. And that's your daily market breakdown, traders.